Good day everyone. So we are the group 3. So today let us learn how gender and development initiatives of an organization can be properly set and monitored through the GAD agenda policy framework by knowing the steps in every part of the framework. So let us also enhance our understanding of how GAD mainstreaming tools like harmonized gender and development guidelines and gender mainstreaming evaluation framework can be used to assess the extent of GAD mainstreaming of an agency or to assist the gender responsiveness of its program and projects. So the GAD agenda is a strategic plan that guides an organization in promoting gender equality and women's empowerment. So it identifies kung ano nga programs and activities na dapat nila himuon to achieve these goals, and also they provide ways to monitor if these efforts are working. So we have two tools na gi-mention kina. So first we have the harmonized gender and development guidelines and the gender mainstreaming evaluation framework. So first we have the harmonized gender and development guidelines. So the harmonized gender and development guidelines is a tool that helps the organization ensure their projects are gender responsive by providing a checklist to include gender perspectives at every stage. So it helps prevent unintentional gender bias and ensures both men and women can benefit equally from projects or programs or activities. So next, we have the Gender Mainstreaming Evaluation Framework. The Gender Mainstreaming Evaluation Framework is a tool that assesses how effectively an organization has integrated gender concerns into its policies, systems, and programs. So it uses a scoring system to evaluate progress in 4 areas: in policies, people, and in enabling mechanism, and programs and projects. So this helps organizations identify strengths and areas for improvements and gender mainstreaming. So these two tools help organize by truly support gender equality. So they check effort if are really gidi ba and hindi lang for show, and these tools finds gaps and use the resources well and make sure that everyone's benefit regardless of their gender. So they help plan better and avoid missing key issues and create a real change for all. GAD Agenda Policy Framework. So in accordance with the Magna Carta of Women and the Philippines' commitment to achieve gender equality and women's empowerment, the guidelines for the preparation of annual GAD plans and budgets and GAD accomplishment reports was issued by the Philippine Commissions on Women's, the National Economic and Development Authority, and the Department of Budget and Management. The guidelines provide the procedures for the formulation, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. So of GAD plans and budget of agencies and identify the setting of the GAD agenda as one of the steps in formulating the GAD plan. So the GAD agenda shall be the basis for the annual formulation of programs, activities, and projects to be included in the GBPS of agencies. It will provide agencies with the direction in setting and monitoring their GAD initiatives toward the achievement of their gender equality and women empowerment goals. GAD Agenda Policy Framework is a guide that helps governments, agencies, or organizations in the Philippines plans and carry out and monitor their efforts to promote gender equality and women empowerment. So it was created to make sure that both men and women is equally benefit from development programs or project, and that no one should left behind because of their gender. So GAD Agenda Policy Framework has steps, which is the formulation, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. So first, we have the formulation. So agencies must find out kung may ara gender issues sa mga specific area, and they need to set clear goals to fix them, and they need to plan programs to support gender equality. So next is the implementation. So agencies carry out these programs, making sure that both men and women can benefit. Next is the monitoring and evaluation. So agencies regularly check if their programs are working by using annual plans, budgets, and reports to track progress and if ang ilang nga gipanghimo is miara ba improvements. The development of the GAD agenda shall be guided by the desire of gender equality and women empowerment outcomes and goals embodied in the MCW and other women or gender-related laws relevant to the agency mandate. The Philippine Plan for Gender Responsive Development 1995 to 2025 and third plans on gender equality and women empowerment and various international GAD-related commitments such as the United Nations Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the Beijing Platform for Action, and the Sustainable Development Goals. It shall also be anchored in the priorities and trust to the government as expressed in the Philippine Development Plan and various sectorial plans. So the GAD agenda is the main plan that government agency uses to promote gender equality and women empowerment. When agency create their GAD agenda, they don't just make it up on their own, but the GAD agenda developed by following important laws, national plans, and international commitments to make sure that their goals are aligned with what the country and the world want to achieve for gender equality. The GAD agenda is a two-part document consisting of the GAD strategic framework and the GAD strategic plan. So the GAD strategic framework outlines the agency's GAD vision, mission, and goals anchored on the mandate of the agency, while the GAD strategic plan defines the strategic interventions, indicators, and targets to be pursued to achieve GAD goals over a period of time. The time frame of the GAD agenda is 6 years. GAD agenda is made up of two main parts, which is the GAD strategic framework and the GAD strategic plan. So first, we have the GAD strategic framework. So it is the foundation of the GAD agenda. It sets out the agency's big picture, which is the vision, mission, and the goals for gender and development. So this framework is important because it guides the agency's work based on its responsibilities and ensure its plans match national laws and goals for gender equality. Second, we have the GAD strategic plan. So it is the action plan that breaks down the GAD framework into specific steps. It includes intervention, which is the main action or programs that the agency will do. Next is the indicators, so how they will measure progress. Next is the targets, so a specific results to achieve within a set time framework, usually 6 years. So these plans matter because it turns broad gender equality goals into practical, measurable actions the agency can follow to create a real change. So the GAD framework and the strategic plan give agencies clear direction for gender equality efforts. They help plan yearly programs, track progress, and ensure resources support real change by combining big picture goals with detailed steps. Agencies stay organized and effective in promoting gender equality and women's empowerment.
Part 1, GAD Strategic Framework. Well, Step 1, Organizing the Planning Team, the Head of Agency, or GAD Focal Point System, or GFPS. Chairperson shall issue, if necessary, an office memorandum for the preparation of the GAD agenda. Well, this step involves assembling a team to create a GAD, or Gender and Development Agenda. The head of the agency or the chairperson of the GAD Focal Point System or GFPS is responsible for this. If needed, they'll send out an official memo to start the process. Well, the boss or leader in charge of gender equality issues within an organization needs to create a team to plan how to improve gender equality within that organization. They'll send a note to everyone involved to get the planning started. Step 2. Conducting gender analysis. The agency led by the GFPS shall conduct gender analysis based on the following. Well, the following is the results of the application of gender analysis tools such as the Gender Mainstreaming Evaluation Framework or GMEF, Harmonized Gender and Development Guidelines or HDGG, Participatory Gender Adult or PGA, and other gender analysis tools. Well, analysis of sex aggregated data or relevant information, review of GAD related mandates and policies, international and local, review of sectoral on gender equality and women's empowerment or GEWE, plans and GAD related indicators, and issues and recommendations gathered from consultations with women's groups organizations, working on the sector or other concerned stakeholders. After collating the results of the gender analysis, the agency should be able to come up with a summary list of gender issues. The gender issue could be client and or organization focused. A client-focused gender issue refers to gaps arising from the unequal status of women and men stakeholders, customers, clients, and beneficiaries of a particular agency, including the extent of their disparity over access to benefits from and contribution to a policy program, projects, and or services of the agency. An organization-focused gender issue, on the other hand, points to the gaps in the capacity of the organization to integrate a gender dimensions in its program, system, or structure. Well, these steps involves thoroughly examining how gender affects the agency and the people it serves. The agency uses various tools and methods to do this, like using special tools. They'll use tools like the Gender Mainstreaming Evaluation Framework or GMEF and others to analyze gender equality. Analyzing data, they'll look at data separated by sex, male or female, to see differences. Reviewing policies, they'll review existing policies related to gender equality at both the local and international levels. They'll talk to women's groups and other relevant people to get their input. And after gathering all this information, the agency will create a list of gender-related problems. These problems can be focused on either clients, beneficiaries. This looks at inequalities between men and women who use the agency's services. For example, are women getting equal access to benefits, or are there differences in how men and women contribute to the program? This looks at whether the agency is doing enough to incorporate gender equality into its own operations and systems. In simpler, the agency investigates how gender affects its works and the people it serves. They use different methods to find out where inequalities exist, both for the people using their services and within the agency itself. This leads to a list of problems to address. Step 3. While setting the agency's GAD vision and mission, the GAD vision shall be formulated to reflect the agency's projected direction to achieve its gender equality and women's empowerment based on its mandate, priorities, and thrust. The GAD mission should articulate the agency purpose based on its mandate in relation to achieving gender equality and women's empowerment. Well, this step involves creating a clear vision and mission statement specifically for gender equality within the agency. Well, their vision is this describes the agency's long-term goals for gender equality and women's empowerment. It's a picture of what agency wants to achieve in the future. The vision will be based on the agency's responsibilities, key priorities, and main goals. Well, their vision's mission is this explains how the agency will achieve its vision. It outlines the specific actions and strategies the agency will take to promote gender equality and women's empowerment, all based on its responsibilities. And simply here, the agency sets a long-term goal, vision for gender equality, and then explaining how it will reach the goal. Step 4, formulating the GAD goals based on the results of gender analysis. The agency shall set 3 to 5 GAD goals that it can achieve during the time frame set. Well, based on the problems identified, in the gender analysis step 2, the agency will choose 3 to 5 specific goals it can realistically achieve within a set time period. These goals will directly address the inequalities found in the analysis.
Hi everyone, I am Jayan Kidato. My topic is the GAD Strategic Plan. So, what is GAD Strategic Plan? Ang GAD Strategic Plan amo ini ang document nga naga-define sa mga strategic interventions, indicators, and targets nga dapat himuon sang isa ka agency para ma-achieve ang ilang GAD goals sa pila ka tuig. Ini ang plan nga naga-operationalize or nagabuhi sang GAD agenda sang isa ka agency. Meaning, kung ano ang plano sang agency para sa gender equality, amo ni ang ilang guide kung paano nila ini ma-implement sa reality. So, ginagamit ang ini nga plan bilang reference sa mga ahensya sa paghimo sang ila annual GAD Plan and Budget or GPB. Kung wala sang GAD Strategic Plan, syempre budlay magplano sang yearly GAD programs kay wala sang guide. So, ang GAD Strategic Plan amo ini ang nagahatag sang direction, focus kag klaro nga plano para mapromote ang gender equality kag women empowerment sa isa ka agency. Step 5. Prioritizing gender issues and or GAD mandates per GAD group. So the gender issues shall be prioritized according to what the agency can achieve within the time frame of the GAD agenda. So, sa sining step, ginapangita sa agency kung ano nga gender issues ang dapat unahon. Kaya hindi matanan pwede ma-address dayon, diba? So, dapat i-prioritize based sa ila kaya himuon within a specific time frame. In prioritizing the gender issues to be addressed, the agency may consider the following criteria. So first is strategic, aligned with the priorities of the administration or sectoral plan. So dapat aligned ini sa goals ng national government at kag sang sectoral plans. For example, if priorities ang administration and ang women empowerment, dapat isa man sa unahon sang agency. So next is relevant, aligned with the agency's mandate under the MCW and other GAD-related policies and plans, affects a significant number of stakeholders. So dapat ini nga issue related sa mandate sang agency kag may ara basihan sa mga policies like sa Magna Carta of Women. Ang issue dapat may dakong epekto sa madamo nga mga tao like sa mga kababaihan, sa mga LGBTQ+ or other vulnerable sectors. So next is urgent. Immediate action or attention is necessary to respond to a pressing gender issue or concern. So dapat unahon man ang issues nga kinahanglan tayong solusyonan. Kung ang isa abi ka problema nagadala na sa peligro or negative effect, subong pa lang dapat unahon nakalimutan na siya. So aside from priority gender issues, the agency may directly cite specific GAD mandates emanating from GAD-related laws or plans that it needs to implement. So next, step 6, outlining the GAD outcomes, indicators, baseline data, and targets per GAD goal. So based on the priority gender issues or GAD mandates, formulate the GAD outcomes or results or statements to be achieved within the time frame of the GAD agenda. The statement should provide a sense of progress toward reaching the goal. So identifying the indicators to measure the progress toward the attainment of the GAD outcome or result. An indicator can be qualitative or quantitative and is composed of a unit of measure, a unit of analysis, and a context. Provide the baseline data and set annual targets for each indicator. So, after mapili ang mga priority gender issues, sunod nga step amo ang paghimo ng GAD outcomes. Ini ang desired results or goals nga gusto ma-achieve sa agency within the GAD agenda time frame. So, for example, ang examples ng outcome, increase participation of women in leadership roles. So, para masukot kung paano na kita ka-progress, kinahanglan butang sa indicators, pwede ni qualitative or quantitative, like percentage of women in management position. So, next, kinahanglan na mag-identify sa baseline data. Amo ni ang current situation or status. Kung kung subong 20% lang sa women ang ara sa leadership roles, amo na siya ang baseline. Then, dapat mag-set sang targets. Ano ang gusto ma-achieve every year? Like 30%. Next year, 40% sa sunod until ma-achieve ang goal. Step 7. Translating the GAD outcomes into GAD programs, projects, and or activities. So, identify or develop specific GAD programs, projects, and or activities aligned with identified strategies with corresponding estimated budget to achieve the desired GAD outcomes. So, last step na ni siya sa part 2 GAD strategic plan. Kung ano ang plan mo, dapat himuon ng actual projects or activities. Dapat klaro na ano ang himuon, sino ang target ng beneficiaries, pila ang budget, kag ano ang expected nga outcome. So, for example, kung gusto ta nga madamo ng mga kababaihan ang maka-access sa livelihood, dapat may program na mag-train sa ila like skills training or small business support. So, these activities must be aligned sa GAD outcomes nga ginaset mo sa step 6. Kung maayo ang pagplano, mas klaro ang pagdalagan sa implementation kag mas madali masukot ang success. So, to summarize, step 5, dapat piliun ta ang pinaka-importante nga gender issues na dapat nato unahon. And then, sa step 6, iset ta ang goals, sukton ta ang progress through indicators and targets. And then last, step 7, himuon ta ini nga actual programs and activities para matuod gid nga may ara impact ang GAD efforts.
So, bright morning everyone. Next is steps in accomplishing progress and end-of-term reports are known as progress report. First, or number 1, from the completed GAD agenda, reflect the GAD goal, outcome, indicators, and targets for the period in appropriate column for the midterm report template. Second, or number 2, provide baseline value and the year of the data. Third, in column 5, enter the actual accomplishment for the monitoring period and reflect the accomplishment percentage. Fourth, provide actual cost and percent utilization in column 6. Fifth, if deviation were made, cite the reasons for deviations and if there are unintended results in column 7. Sixth, identify recommendation and adjustments that the agency intends to do to ensure that the targets set for the remaining years of the GAD agenda will be met. And for the interim report, first, from the completed GAD agenda, reflect the GAD goal, outcome, indicators, and baseline identified in the appropriate columns of the end-of-term reports template. Second, in column 5th, enter the accomplishment. Third, reflect the column 6th actual cost and percent utilization. Fourth, if there are deviation unattended, results provide it in column 7. So next is the mainstreaming assessment. The gender mainstreaming education framework is a tool to measure the extent of the gender mainstreaming effort of organizations, both national government agencies and local government units or LGU. It also meant to assess the gender and development focal points system members and measuring gains in gender and development perspective in the respective organization. Gender mainstreaming in the context of implementing the Magna Carta of Women with the milestone passage of Republic Act 9710 or the Magna Carta of Women, gender mainstreaming strategies became an integral part of the design implementation. Monitoring and evaluation of the policies and programs of government agencies and local government units alike. The Philippine Commission on Women is the national machinery and women's empowerment and gender equality. Is mandated by the Magna Carta of Women, led in ensuring the government agencies are capacitated on the effective implementation of the Act and influence the system, processes, and procedures of the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government. In order to effectively pursue gender mainstreaming, agencies and LGUs are required to ensure that the following essential elements are available, which is the JAD planning and budgeting, JAD focal point system, sex desegregated database, and lastly, the conduct of gender audit.
The Gender and Development or GAD approach is a development perspective anchored on the right base and people-centered development. It recognizes legitimacy of a gender equality as a fundamental value that should be reflected in developmental choices. This approach focuses on the political, economic, and cultural factors that determine how differently women and men participate and benefit from, and also control resources and activities. So God shifts the focus from the need to include women in development to the examination or socially determined a relation between women and men. So the next is the gender mainstreaming as a national agency. So integral to the GAD approach is a gender mainstreaming or JM, identified as a strategy or to integrate gender perspective is institutional policy, program, and activities. It is operationalized through building GAD capacities and sharing accountability in all areas and at all levels of program and project implementations. Gender mainstreaming recognizes the development activities may ignore gender biases that lead to unequal impacts among men and women beneficiaries. So it also moved from inclusion of women first as in the development agenda to changing or transforming an agents in order to respond adequately to the realities and needs of both in women and men. Essentially, the process in gender mainstreaming entails the transformation of institutional culture and practices wherein gender concern became a central instead of remaining as a peripheral issues and concerns. GAD mainstreaming begins with an analysis of the existing situation and locating gender-specific barriers while examining the social, political, economic, and environmental factors which influence women and men's roles and decision-making capacities. This process entails a more and holistic approach to governance in which in which the interest and needs to beneficiaries and taken into account. It recognizes and appropriately values that contribution of both women and men. Moreover, it also develops appropriate policies, programs towards gender sustainability at gender equality development outcomes. So what gender mainstreaming? So first is GM, is focused on the substantive work of organization, and it's not just about achieving a gender balance in those organizations. So second, JM is about identifying concrete action to promote gender equality. It is not just about doing gender analysis. Third, JM makes gender perspective and the goal of a gender equality exploit in all processes and documents. It does not and cannot make this invisible. And fourth is JM is a complementary strategy to women empowerment. It does not eliminate the need for target activities for women and activities target to promote gender equality. And last, JM requires specialization, catalysis, resources to support management in the fulfillment of their responsibilities. It does not estimate the need of the gender units and gender focus on points. So the next topic is the gender mainstreaming operational activities and entry points of a gender mainstreaming. Mainstreaming requires intervention from different stages of development planning processes, from planning to programming, budgeting, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. There are 4 critical entry points to GOD mainstreaming, namely policies, the programs and projects, peoples, and enabling mechanisms. These are not in any order or importance. A government agency has the option of what or on what entry point to use first. They are options to accept or to adopt strategy that characterize more than only one point.
Bright morning everyone, my topic is policies. This refers to the official statement and pronouncement of support for gender mainstreaming issued by organization. This may be in the form of department orders, special orders, administrative orders, memorandum, and executive orders that spell out the commitment of an organization to pursue gender mainstreaming. It also includes framework strategic plan. Through this issuance, the organization expresses its recognition and acceptance of gender mainstreaming as a critical and legitimate concern, even in a broad or gender terms. Policies kini nagpasabot sa mga opisyal nga pamahayag o direktiba sa organisasyon nga nagasuporta sa gender mainstreaming. Apil na ini ang department orders, administrative orders, memorandum o mga strategic plan nga klaro nga naglatid sa suporta sa GOD or gender development. Official statement and guidelines. Next, program and projects or POPs. This refers to the flagship program or activities and project that serve as a strategic entry point to gender mainstreaming in an organization. It is the most practical entry point since it involves the actual implementation of the mandated of an organization. PAPs can be review and issuance of revised GAD policies, applications, or gender analysis, tools and conduct of GAD advocacy, and regular updating of GAD mechanisms such as the GAD database. Ang programa at proyekto ng PAPS. Ang mga ito ay mga pangunahing proyekto at gawain ng organisasyon kung saan naisasagawa ang GAD or gender. Sa mga ito, sinusuri, binabago ang mga pulisya, ginagawa ang advocacy kung saan naisagawa ang GAD sa mga ito, sinusuri at binabago ang mga pulisya, ginagawa ang advocacy at ina-update ang GAD database. Next, this refers to the system and mechanism installed in the organization and the fund allocated for GAD activities such as the GAD focal point system and knowledge management system. The success of the gender mainstreaming effort depend to the larger extent on the resources allocated in the mechanism that are institutionalized to implement it. Enabling mechanism can be GAD fund audit of the Commission on Audit, which greatly help in ensuring the institutional compliance to the minimum 5% utilization of the GAD budgets of government agencies and local government units. Mao kini ang mga sistema nga gisunod sa organization sama sa GAD focal point system of knowledge management system. Importante ni aron masiguro nga institutionalize ang GAD activities. Apil pod ang GAD fund audit aron sigurado nga gigamit sa sakto ang 5% nga GAD fund sa mga ahensya o LGU. People. This refers to the relevant stakeholder who assume the task of gender mainstreaming. The following are critical to the success of gender mainstreaming or GAD. GAD champion among top management who actively support the gender mainstreaming program, recognition of GAD focal point system and staff member as GAD experts, internal and external clients who are able to participate in the planning, implementation, monitoring and evaluation of programs, activities and projects as an entry point. People shares for implementary and distinct roles. Kini nagapasabot sa mga stakeholders nga aktibo moapil sa gender mainstreaming. Apil ini ang GAD champions sa taas nga management mga sakop sa God Focal Point System, mga empleyado o external clients nga moapil sa planning, implementasyon o evaluation sa God activities. That's all. Thank you.
Bright morning everyone. I am the next presenter. The sponsor, the individual or group who has the power, the sanction, or legitimize. Change, sponsor consider the potential. Change, facing on organization, assess the change and opportunities. They decide which change will happen, communicate the new priorities to the organization, and provide the proper reinforcement to assure success. They are also responsible for creating an environment that enables this change to made on time and within budget. In gender mainstreaming, the sponsor are the heads of the organization. They express support to gender mainstreaming by issuing policies or installing the necessary enabler mechanisms such as approving the organization, God plan the budget. They also set the direction of the overall gender mainstreaming efforts of the organization. Sponsor are leaders who approve and support organizational change. They choose which change to pursue, communicate priorities, and ensure proper support for success. In gender mainstreaming, sponsor usually organization heads lead efforts by approving God plans, creating supportive policies, and setting the overall direction for promoting gender equality.